So let's suppose you're at the door of a nightclub or something and people are walking in and you want to be able to keep track of their birthdays and at the end decide whether two of them had the same birthday. How would you do that?
I guess I would ask each of them the day and the month,
Mm-hmm.
and then try to organize it by either month or day.
Exactly. So what would happen if you kept the days and the months separate? In fact, let's think about how to model that on the computer. So I could have some months and say there's 12 months to the year. So I could have some months, I could also have some days. And let's say, to make things easy, let's suppose every month has 31 days. If you kept track of the months and the days separately, so let's say, I walk in the room and I tell you August and 29. So you've marked, okay, there's a birthday in August, there's a birthday on the 29th. How would you tell whether somebody else had my same birthday?
If they also had a birthday on August 29th, but I guess it would get kind of jumbled if it could also just be on the 29th or in August.
Exactly. So if somebody else came in and it was August 15th, you'd say, oh, August, but you don't know whether it's the 29th or not. So the way we're thinking about this now, months and days each is sort of a linear thing. I've got my months in a row, I've got my days in a row, and I'm keeping track of those things separately. So how would I arrange to combine them? What kind of a notation mechanism might you come up with to combine those two ideas so you can keep track of both the month and the day?
A double array?
Yeah, a double array, which kind of resembles a spreadsheet if you think about it, right? So maybe the rows of my spreadsheet, would you like them to be the months or the days? It doesn't matter.
Months.
Months, okay. So each row is going to be a different month. So, I can have January, February, March going down the spreadsheet. And then across, what would I have going across?
Days.
The days. Okay, so let's think about how we would write such a thing. It's, as you say, it'd be a double-dimensioned array. So I'll call it a calendar. And the first dimension is the rows, and we said that's going to be the months, right? And then the second dimension is the days, so we'll provision for that. So this makes, a new int. This makes a new integer array that has 12 rows and 31 columns, and that's enough to keep track of this. Now, again, thinking just as a human, keeping track of this sort of thing, so everybody walks in, what kind of information are you going to write down when someone walks in?
I guess what person it is, and then the month and the day of their birthday.
Okay, so suppose you have a cell in front of you that describes August and 29, and I walk in the door. I say, okay, my birthday's August 29th. What would you put in that area of your spreadsheet?
I'd add one to the column.
Exactly. Now, why are you adding one? Why not just put a little tick there or a check mark?
Just so that you can count up the amount of people without having to count up all the checks at the end.
Exactly, right. So Ari, if this were just a matter of putting a check mark, it's either there or not, what would be the right data type for that?
Boolean.
Boolean. But since we want to keep track of how many, we're going to use instead
Ints.
ints, exactly. Okay. So we create this double-dimensioned array, and you might think that you need to initialize it to 0, but in fact, Java already does that for us. So we need to do just what you say and have people walk into the room and tell us their birthday. So we're going to do that next. We don't know how many people we want to have walk into the room. It says use n people, right? So if I don't know how many people I want, whom would I ask when I run the program?
The user.
The user. So let's arrange to do that. So I'm going to ask for an integer, and I get to ask them, and suppose I just say enter an integer. Okay, so what's wrong with that prompt?
They won't know why they're entering an integer.
Exactly. It's not very informative, is it? So what would be a better thing to say there?
How many people walk into the room?
Yep. How many people walk into the room? Great. Okay, once we have n, we then need to simulate n people walking into the room, and each one's going to tell us a month and a date of their birthday. In terms of what we've studied, so straight line code, ifs, and loops, what kind of a construct do we need here to simulate the n people walking into the room?
For loop?
A for loop, exactly. So my for loop can start at 0. And how many people? There's n people, right? And so this is going to have n people walk into the room. So each ith iteration is a new person walking into the room, okay? Now I need to ask them what month and year they were born in, right? I could prompt the user for this, but there's 100 people. The users are going to get pretty annoyed having to enter all that data. So in terms of simulation, how could we generate data without having to ask the user?
Doing a math.random.
Exactly. We can do it randomly, right? We can have the computer generate a possible month and a day for each person. So if I want my month to be something between 0 and 11, now why do I pick 0 and 11 when the index here is 12?
Because the index starts at 0, and then you don't want it to go like 13.
Exactly. So with 12 months, we want to take math.random and multiply it by 12. This should give us a double whose value is between 0 and not quite 12. But at this point, there's an error in the program, and why is Eclipse telling us there's something wrong?